And welcome back. I'm your host, Matthias Gertz. This is Divorcing Your Mortgage, and it's my pleasure this afternoon to introduce you to Dina Braverman. Dina, correct?
Correct.
Okay, got it on the first try. So, after 30 years of working in the legal industry, Dina decided that it was time to start her own business. She left her career as a legal assistant, a paralegal, and office manager of a West Side Los Angeles law firm and started Organizing Concepts and Designs, also known as OCD. I think that's very funny. We'll get into that later. Um, Although most of her professional experience was working for law firms, her natural tendency to organize spilled over into the homes and offices and sometimes garages of friends and family. Her OCD, coupled with her years of hands-on and professional experience in the corporate world, lent itself to a natural segue as a professional organizer. Organizing Concepts and Designs offers an array of incredible resources. They specialize in residential organizing, office organizing, relocations, move management. Well, I'll let her get into more of those things with you as soon as she comes on. To make a long story short, they facilitate the A to Z of moving and organization. Her team go beyond the call of duty to provide support throughout the organizational process and afterwards as well. Dina, thanks so much for making it on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
It was absolutely my pleasure. So maybe I know I touched on it, but maybe you could maybe you could just enlighten us a little bit about how when you decided to stop working for others and work for yourself, out of all the potential things you could have done in the world, how it was that you came to start OCD.
So this was really an easy transition for me. I was working, as you said, for 30 years in an industry that gave me, an amazing background, amazing skills. I loved what I did, but I had enough. It was just a very stressful environment and it was litigation. So every minute of
Mm,
every day is deadlines and statutes, and it's just a lot going on. And I felt that I was ready to move on. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to start my own business or do something else, but I thought I never want to get aged out of the market, out of the job market. And this was a
uh-huh.
time for me to make that decision. Either I go on my own, set my own rates, set my own time, have my own business, or once again go to work for somebody else. And the decision was easy. I wanted to try it on my own. I had run a very successful law firm for many, many years and thought if I could do that, then I can run my own business. And the reason I chose organizing is once again, I have OCD. And thankfully, my OCD manifests itself in organizing. When I was a little girl, instead of wanting to go play, I wanted to organize. I wanted to straighten out my drawers. I wanted to fix my closet. I wanted to clean the house. That's what I enjoy doing. And I know why that happened, but I thought as an adult, how can I take my corporate background and my personal crazies, my stuff, and make it work for me? And somehow it worked. I realized very shortly after starting this business that it was not a luxury service. It is a very, very necessary, highly needed
Uh-huh.
service, which I didn't know when I began this business. I know it now, but I didn't know it then. And
Okay.
that's how Organizing Concepts was born.
Okay. So you actually went, it wasn't like something you fell into. You actually made a conscious decision to take all of the knowledge that you had learned in 30 years in the legal profession and to go into to start an organizing company.
Yes, and really not really knowing what that meant because I had been told about this association, which is the National Association of Professional Organizers. I was told about it, but
Uh-huh.
because I had been teased my whole life, I didn't really believe that that existed. So I kind of didn't look into it. And then a close family friend said, "Hey, did you ever check that out?" And I said, "No, I thought you were kidding. I thought you were teasing me." She goes, "No, it's a thing. There's actually people who do this for a living." And I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to check it out." and I checked it out. I went to a meeting and I thought, this is home. This is where I need to be.
Wow.
This is
Okay.
it. I can
Okay.
make a living doing this, really.
Uh-huh. So basically you found that you could make a living uh literally giving into your natural impulses.
Yeah. It's
That
just so it was just such a natural transition.
that must have been quite an amazing revelation in a way, especially if you had spent most of your life, sort of like feeling that you had to contain it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, my OCD manifested itself. There's a lot of people that have OCD and it manifests in different ways, right? I
Hmm.
truly believe that for me, as a child, your parents, whoever's watching you says, do this now, do this way, do it that way. You can't do it this way. So the only thing, and I like control. So the only thing that
Hmm.
I knew as a child that I could control was my stuff. And so
Okay.
that's how my OCD kicks in. When
I
my
see.
outer world is out of control, my inner world gets uber organized. you
I
know,
got you. Yeah.
and yeah, it worked for me. And I gotta say, I didn't know I didn't know how necessary this industry is.
Uh-huh.
And most people who call me go, I wish I knew that your services existed. Why didn't I know this when my parents died? Why didn't I know this when I was divorcing and
Um,
needed somebody to help me through it?
right.
So many people still to this day don't really know the breadth of services that a lot of organizers offer. And, we just try to get the word out because the service is necessary.
It's yeah, I can only imagine how disappointed your law firm must have been to lose you.
He wasn't happy.
Yeah.
It was 19 years at that one firm.
Wow, that's a
Yeah,
long time. That's a
yeah,
long time.
yeah.
That takes a certain kind of inner courage, I have to believe, after 2 decades in one firm,
Three
in
decades.
I know, but two in one firm, to literally walk away and to did you walk away and then sort of take a long walk on the beach and decide, or you left and you knew exactly what you were
Well,
going to do?
that's not necessarily true. A few months before I left, I was
Uh-huh.
like, what do I want to do when I grow up? What do I want to do in my next
Mm-hmm.
life? Because this is
Mm-hmm.
all I knew.
Right.
And my dad knew I was looking and trying to figure things out. He goes, do yourself a favor, just go get another job. You're used to having a paycheck, you're used to having benefits. What do you need this for? And I said, oh no, no. Because then it became a challenge.
Oh,
Then it was like, oh
okay.
no, watch me roll. I've got this.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna do this. And
That
that's
almost
very much who I am.
that almost reminds me of a line from a Bruce Springsteen song where he's talking about how he became a musician, and he says his mom wanted to become a doctor and his dad wanted to become a lawyer, but instead he became a rock and roll star. So you're just gonna have to live with it, right?
Yes.
Kind of sounds like the same sort of thing.
I
Okay,
am, but I'm very focused. That's who I am. When I
okay.
want to do something, I do it.
So when you did this, did you was it hands-on? Did you say, okay, I'm going to do this, and basically started announcing through whatever your networks were that you were doing this, and somebody hired you, and was it literally you doing it?
So, very good question. When I first started, this was not organizing concepts and designs. I started as, I believe the name was Office Organizing Solutions, because I thought I should start with offices, right? And
Right,
so a very dear friend of mine who was a chiropractor was having issues in his office, and it was really his filing system. And I said, let me get in there. I want to do
right.
this. And that was my first job to see if I really liked what I was about to do.
Okay.
And it was amazing. I found $30,000 of uncollected revenue,
Wow.
collected 40% of it, and showed him how to efficiently and productively run an office, because an office is an office.
Right.
You have the right systems in place and things are accessible and functional and you have the right people, you can be successful. So I made
Okay.
that, but then I realized very quickly, I just got out of an office for 30 years. I don't want to stay in an office. So how can I make this? So, but I continued doing it. And yes, it was me and it was only me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took on residential organizing, which to me was second nature.
Hmm.
And somehow, and I don't know how this really happened, but people started reaching out to me, do you need help? And those
Oh,
people are still with me today in my company.
how
We now have
interesting.
8 people, but those people are still with me. I'm like,
Okay.
yes, I need help. Why not?
Right.
And it was an 8. They knew what they
Yep.
were doing. I didn't have to train.
Okay.
And
Okay.
we grew and we grew.
So geographically, where do you work
So
predominantly?
my home office is in Encino.
Encino, California. All right.
Yes,
All
Encino,
right.
California, but we work all over Southern California.
All right.
And if and when necessary, and if and when the client wants to pay our fees, we will
Mm-hmm.
go wherever they want us to go because, especially with a move, when a move is involved,
Yeah.
people may be starting here, but they may not end up in Southern California. So there
Right.
have been times when we have driven to Nevada or to Palm Springs or to, Monterey
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
unpacked our clients because they like what we do. So we'll
Gotcha.
go anywhere. I say Palm Springs to Poland. If you want to pay us, we'll go.
Palm Springs to Poland. Okay. All right.
We'll go.
But however, let me ask you this: since there is an association, all right, do you also have the option, and have you ever used the option of referring a client at the other end to another company?
Absolutely. So
Okay.
there's a website that you can go to, napo.net, which is
Right.
actually it's international. And
Uh-huh.
so if there are people that need our services and can't afford it or the budget doesn't allow, or they're just good on, moving along, we will certainly lead them to the website. And I've been doing this for so long. I know people in other areas. So
Sure.
I'm happy to refer that out. Absolutely.
How long have you been doing this now?
It in this past June was 14 years.
14 years. Oh my goodness. Okay.
I know, time went fast.
Wow. Okay. So all right. Well, it obviously must be working for you because I'm doing the math, and you certainly don't look like that number of
Well,
years.
thank you very much.
You're quite welcome. You're quite welcome. So that kind of took me by surprise. All right.
And I quit the law when I was 50.
And you quit the law when you were 50. Okay. Well, now you've closed all that up for us, but I didn't ask. Okay.
It's
All
okay.
right. That's all right. Well, that's great. That's great. So you have a team of 8.
Yes.
All right. And all of these people are actually on the line. They're actually physically doing the work.
They are physically doing the work. They are all employees.
Gotcha. All
Nobody's
right.
an independent contractor.
All right.
Everybody's
Right.
covered by workers' comp and errors and
What
emissions. And oh my God, I have more insurance than anybody needs or wants.
why is that important in your line of work, do you feel?
The insurance,
No, the fact that you have them as employees and not
because in
independent
California they
contractors.
have to be.
Okay.
I
All
mean,
right.
listen, I have a legal background. I still have that in me. I
Mm-hmm.
need to be compliant. Everything I do has to be above board compliant. I don't want audits. I don't want trouble. I don't want fines and fees. I just want to play nice and do
Mm-hmm.
my job.
I got you.
And
Okay.
everybody's covered and happy.
All right.
And that's why they
Good.
stay with me for so long.
I hear
Right?
you. I hear you. Well, that's part of what I was going to ask. Do you feel that as employees that it creates a different relationship, and therefore that shows up in the work as well?
I don't really see that. The people that work for me, I have to call them employees because they are, but these are women and men that I I could not do what I do without them.
Mm-hmm.
I am grateful every single day for them in my life, and I show
Okay.
them that every single day in my life because I know as an employee of 30 years how important that is for morale, for so many, for them to stay with me.
Mm-hmm.
Retention is everything,
Right.
right?
Right.
Client retention, employee retention. I trust them implicitly. They know what they're doing. They're amazing people. They're dedicated. They're hardworking. I literally have to call them after 7.5 hours and say, "You have another half hour. You need to stop now." And they're like, "But we just have another hour." And I'm like, "I don't care because I don't want anybody going over 8 hours. And it's not because I don't want to pay them time and a half. it's because mistakes start happening. Everything we do is very, very physical. We're
That's
moving, we're
interesting.
packing, we're lifting, we're pushing, we're pulling. And I don't want them hurt, because if they're hurt, then my business is hurt, and then they're hurt. It doesn't work.
It's very,
So,
yeah, that's very interesting because especially since you have a business like this in a city like Los Angeles that to a very great degree is built on the entertainment business, where that was the standard at one time, but has not been for quite a few years. People working on sets will tell you that 12, 15, 18-hour days are not unusual.
right. And they union, and they have their thing, but I'm a small business, and
Hmm.
one injury,
Hmm.
I don't want them to be injured. And we do very, we're up on ladders. We can get injured in
Sure.
this industry. I need to make
Right.
sure that they're okay. My priority is making sure that they're okay, so that we're okay, so that we can make our clients okay.
Gotcha. It makes sense. It all makes sense.
Yeah.
You're just saying a lot of things to me that I didn't expect to hear, so I'm just, following it
Yeah.
up. Um, so let's switch gears for a moment and maybe look at this from a slightly different point of view. Because you say you started out doing offices and then you went residential, all right? Um, what what won't your company do? What type of organizing, is there any type of organizing that organizing concepts and designs would demur on and say, nope, that's not in our wheelhouse?
Yes, I would refer it out, but digital organizing, in other words, getting onto somebody's computer and doing stuff,
Okay.
I'm not comfortable with that. I don't know enough about it, and it's just an area I don't want to go into.
Okay.
Probably another even insurance policy, which I don't want. But that's one area I probably wouldn't go into. Another area, no, I don't know that there's nothing. I would always consider it if it
Okay.
was viable, if it was safe,
Yep.
and it was something that I could make somebody happy. I'd probably try and do it.
Okay. Well, let me just ask you about this digital thing, just for clarification. Are you saying that if somebody said, I want you to go into my computer and organize everything, that's not in your wheelhouse? But but what if somebody said, I've got 10 4-drawer files in my office, and I want to get out of using paper, and I want to digitize everything and organize it as if it was files. All
Right.
right. Would that be something that you guys would do?
No, we bring in another company to do that because we're not
Okay.
equipped. We don't have that kind of equipment. And to
Okay.
do that, which we do often, by the way,
Uh-huh.
where people want to go paperless, even though we're really not a paperless society quite yet. We're just
Right.
not there yet. But there are people that want to do that. And as I work with them year after year, and I've had clients for as long as I'm in business, we
Uh-huh.
do we do whittle it down, because I do encourage and walk them through them on their computers, getting through, online documents, not having paper copies sent out, consolidating things, opting out
Right.
of things. So I do help them with that. But as far as scanning, I would bring in another company because we're not equipped.
Okay.
And I
All right.
do
That
recommend it at times.
That's that's fine. We just
Yeah.
wanted to find out, where you
Yeah.
fit in, especially considering the fact that we're talking about this within the concept of marriage and divorce in
Okay.
particular. Have you worked in divorcing situations?
Many.
Many.
And
Okay.
continue to do so.
And continue to do so. Okay, well, that gives us a lot of food for communication.
Yeah.
Okay. So I tell you what we're going to do. All right. We are going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're gonna start drilling down into OCD and divorce. All right, but we mean it differently than most people might. All right, especially if you were a marriage and family therapist, and see where that goes. Okay,
Love that. Yes.
great. You're listening to Divorcing Your Mortgage. We're going to be right back after this. And welcome back to Divorcing Your Mortgage. My guest this afternoon is Dina Braverman and her company, Organizing Concepts and Designs, also known as OCD. So before the break, Dina, we said we're going to start drilling down into what you do in organizing and the divorce process. Okay.
Yes.
There are predominantly four types of divorce. All right. There's litigative, there's mediated, there's collaborative, and there's self, where people just like do it on the internet. Have you gotten involved in all of those?
Self, no, because I guess
No,
they handle it on their own. Mediation, arbitration, litigation. Yes, 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 yes.
collaborative. Okay, fine. Who normally brings you in? Is it the client or is it one of their advisors?
I often get hired by my clients because they know my background by then.
Gotcha.
I
Mhm.
also am oftentimes I'm referred by divorce attorneys, estate planning attorneys that understand that now there's a divorce involved,
Okay.
CPAs, and real estate agents.
Okay. All right. So you're working with a lot of trusted professionals,
Yes,
right? Bringing you into these situations. And you, as you mentioned, you've been doing this a long time,
yeah.
and you've been doing it through many divorces. Um, can you share in general, generally speaking, what would you say are some of the particular challenges of organizing and divorce that you
I think
see?
the most, and across every platform, so whether they're mediating, arbitrating, or litigating, it's the emotional aspect.
Okay.
And I understand that, and I think I'm well suited for this because as a divorcee myself, mine was very quick. However, very few things I still had to do to get myself filed
Hmm.
because I was emotionally involved was very difficult for me. So I
Right.
understand that even though it might be a very simple task that an attorney is asking them for, somehow they just can't get their head wrapped around doing it. So I do it
Hmm.
for them. A lot of times attorneys will bring me in to a divorce situation where there's a part in a divorce called discovery, where
Yes.
documents need to be pulled and both parties need to get these documents together. Well, usually it's only one party who has handled the documents.
Hmm.
Maybe it's the wife, maybe it's the husband, but
Right.
usually there's one. And so the other one, the one who doesn't have it, is at a loss, right? Because they don't have the documents. They don't know
Okay.
where they are. I usually get called in not only because I cost a little bit less than an attorney would, right? They're
Uh-huh.
charging $500 an hour. I'm not. So they
Right.
call me in. Could you please pull the documents together, help the clients figure this out, and give it to us in the way in which we're requesting it? So they're not getting a box of
Oh,
documents, right? Which the attorney
okay.
is then going to spend $500 an hour sorting through. I'm giving them the documents as they are requested. So 1A, 1B, 1C.
I see. So this is a unique place where your legal uh
Very much
skills
so.
come
Very
come in
much so.
come into play. And
Yes.
I would imagine that that would be a very unique thing that your company can do as good or better than any other because
Correct.
of your background.
Right. And on that note, there, like I said, organizers, there's so many services that we all offer and some differently,
Right.
right? So
Right.
people coming from various backgrounds are pulling from that and making that the focal point of their businesses. So somebody, for instance, who's in the entertainment industry might go into events organizing, right? Helping
Hmm.
people
Right.
organize for events. My specialty is definitely the paperwork.
Okay.
So, you know, especially divorcing. I mean, I'm in the middle of something right now, which is enormous.
Are,
And
are you at liberty to share it with us
I
sort of
mean,
anonymously?
without, I can't give names, of
Of
course, but
course. Of
this
course.
particular client is in the middle, it's year four, and they need to go
Wait,
to
wait,
a
wait.
set.
You're four of a divorce.
Yeah. And the
Okay.
only one getting rich, as we all know, are the attorneys.
Right. And what, let me ask you, is this a litigated divorce or it's a litigated divorce?
A
Okay.
litigated divorce.
All right.
They
Right.
tried to mediate, didn't work. They tried to
Didn't,
arbitrate, didn't work. We're
okay.
litigating. So now we're
Okay.
in the discovery phase of litigation.
Mm-hmm.
Both sides are requesting a ton of documents from one another.
Okay.
As I said, one has them and one doesn't. So the one that has them, unfortunately, the onus is on them to provide it. And so, because I've been working with this client for so many years, 12 years, we're organized, we've got it together, we're ready. But it's
Uh-huh.
going to take some time to now pull it. So, because we are organized, we now pull these documents. We number them and label them according to the request.
Uh-huh.
We send them to a scanning company who's now going to scan them into a computer to get it to the attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a seamless procedure.
Gotcha. All
Emotions
right.
are lowered because the panic is not there because they know somebody like me, I got this. They're not sending a paralegal from the office, which is going to be several $100s.
Right.
Somebody who's not familiar with them, who's going to be up in their personal stuff. I already have a trusted relationship with them.
Uh-huh.
I've got this. And that is everything.
Gotcha.
Having somebody who listen, I'm going to have access to their social security numbers, their account numbers, their income,
Mm-hmm.
a lot. It keeps them and makes them very vulnerable. So
Mm-hmm.
thankfully, with the right insurances in place, the right mindset, knowing who your client is, I help them through it, and hopefully it will resolve.
And that's funny because that was going to be my next question, which is that you become privy to a lot of very personal information,
Yes,
and even though they're saving probably an enormous amount of money and a considerable amount of time, um, in regard to somebody having eyes on that information, they don't have the attorney-client privilege working for them,
very
right?
interesting. Yes, but there is a confidentiality clause in my contract.
That was my
I
next
will never
question.
disclose a name, never. The likeness, nothing. Nothing
Got
gets
it.
disclosed. I can tell you an example, and that
Yeah.
is a true example, but I can never disclose who, what, where. No.
Right. Understood. Okay. And unlike maybe some other organizing companies, you're also insured against this as well, correct?
Everything. Yes, everything.
Okay. Well, no, that's significant because I would imagine there are a lot of organizing companies that don't have insurance in case there's an NDA problem.
Well, here's the thing, and this is so important, and I'm glad you brought this up. And there's two things that I really wanted to point out. The first is there are many, many people out there that call themselves organizers, and they can because we're not a regulated industry. We don't require licensing, we don't require education, and we don't require insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So that again sets me and colleagues like me apart from the people who are doing it because their kids are now they're in school and they don't know what to do with themselves, or
Right.
because they feel like they know how to fold well.
Uh-huh.
There is a difference, right?
Okay.
So there's a difference when somebody walks into your house and knows what the liability risks are and take those very seriously to protect not only me but my clients.
Okay.
Or somebody, and that's why we charge what we do, and for instance housekeepers charge what they do.
I got you.
It's a skill set. It really is. And then the other thing is, um, you were talking about how you get called in because you're in the mortgage industry. The
Mm-hmm.
real estate agents, one of the most interesting cases that I've had as far as paralegal work integrating with the organizing work is clients are divorcing, and the house that they both owned was renovated once. There was a big, I think there was a flood or a fire. I don't remember. It was several years ago. And there was a lot of renovations for that. It was an insurance claim. Okay. So the insurance claim. And thankfully, because I was there and organizing them all these years, I had the paperwork and we had to put together a spreadsheet to determine the cost basis so that they could sell the property and divide it. That was interesting. And that's something that we also do because who else is doing that? You have
Mm-hmm.
to know what you do. You have to know what documents you're looking for, right?
Right.
You need to know how long to retain them, what to archive, what to keep, what to shred, what to toss, what the accountant needs, what the courts need. It's a
Mm-hmm.
lot. You got to know your stuff.
So in a way, one could almost make the case that you're a specialty in a specialty.
Hmm. Specialty. The organizing isn't a specialty.
No,
It's
no,
a,
I
you know,
it is in the sense that not everybody can do it for themselves. All right. But but what I mean is that because of your unique legal background, you have an ability to see things differently than an organizer that doesn't have
yes.
that. That's
Yeah.
what
And
I'm
I
trying to
would
say.
say to you that a lot of organizers out there that don't have my background will refer to me.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Let's get back to that. Let's take a quick break. You're
Okay.
listening to Divorcing Your Mortgage. I'm your host, Matthias Gertz. We're talking to Dina Braverman of OCD, and we'll be right back after this. And welcome back to Divorcing Your Mortgage. We're talking to Dina Braverman of OCD, Organizing Concepts and Designs. Dina, I don't want to put anybody on the spot, and I know you're not going to share names, and I certainly wouldn't want you to. But can you share with us maybe one of the worst um, situations that you ever found yourself brought into, and how you sort of put that together?
Worst situations meaning the
Uh,
gnarliest organizing situation.
yeah.
Or
Let's go
okay,
there. Yeah,
okay.
what was one of the gnarliest organizing?
Here's a really bad one. This is my most awful story. Couple is divorcing. The male part of this couple is in rehab and therefore not able to pack or get his stuff together. The parents hire me to go and pack up his stuff in the house and put it in storage.
Which parents? His parents.
His parents
Okay,
hire me to
right.
pack up his stuff and
Uh-huh.
put it in storage until he's able to get out and deal with his stuff. While we're there, the wife, the female part, also says, "Hey, you're doing such a great job. Would you mind doing this for me when you're done with him?" And we say, "Of course we will. Let us get this done. Let us get his stuff out of here, and then we'll
Mm-hmm.
deal with you." Because she also wanted us to move her, unpack her, and everything else. It was our pleasure to do that. So on moving day, the morning of moving day, we show up and there are police surrounding the property because the male part of this couple committed suicide that morning. The move still had to happen. Escrow was closing at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
You got to take a deep breath.
Yep.
You got to express your condolences and you got to do your job. So not only is it me there, I have 8 moving men, my assistant, me,
Mm-hmm.
a grieving future ex-wife, now widow,
Right.
police, real estate agents who are freaking out. It was a nightmare, but we did it, and we did it with compassion, and we got it done, and it was devastating.
Legally speaking, though, because she was still married, now all of the things of his that you had moved out now belong to her.
Don't know about that.
Okay.
Because I think before this happened, they had already agreed on whose was what, who got what, whatever.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
obviously, her clothes were hers. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying?
sure.
We
Sure.
we had a very specific list of what to pack for him, and she
Gotcha.
was there. So if there was anything that was questionable and we had to ask about it, or she said no, that's not going,
Right.
we left it. That wasn't hard at all. The
Mm-hmm.
hard part was moving forward when such a tragedy had happened.
Oh, that's terrible.
It was
That's
terrible. I
terrible.
mean,
Yep.
that's just one story, but it's, you know,
Well,
it's
I
hard.
would, I mean, in a lot of ways, many times you're seeing people at their worst.
Yeah.
Okay, they don't want to
Vulnerable.
be that way. They don't want
Yeah.
to be that way, but they're in dire straits of one kind or another.
Yeah.
Um, the type of packing that you do, I one of the biggest industries in Southern California is private storage.
I
All
know.
right. Okay. Do you ever get brought in to like help people clean out their storage lockers, that type of thing?
So next week we will be starting with one of 13,
They have 13 storage lockers.
13 storage units,
Okay. And
13 10 by 25 storage units in
gotcha.
3 different locations. And we will be emptying them. But here's the
Yes.
caveat.
Yeah.
Here's where it gets interesting. So this is a decedent who had 13
Ah,
storage units, and now the
okay.
estate needs to liquidate. Because I do what I do, I also have an estate sale company because when you're downsizing and you're decluttering and you're moving people,
Right.
people don't want to just give it away or throw it away. They want to get value.
Uh-huh.
Now, their sense of what's valuable and my sense of what's value are worlds apart, but my job
Right.
is to manage their expectations and say, hey, I will find value if, and I quote, if there is value. But sentimental value does not count,
That's true.
right? It's got to
That's
have
true.
fair market value. If we find the value, and we will find some value in 13 units, I assure you, we
Hmm.
will sell it. We will either, and we can't do an estate sale there because we don't have a location, but we
Right.
will either send it to auction, consignment, we'll liquidate it, we'll do something to find that value because really that's so part and parcel of what we do.
Uh-huh.
We've been doing that for about 10 of the 14 years that we're in business because, again, people want value. So you give me money for my services, and I'm going to give you money for your stuff.
Gotcha. Okay. So do you use a third party or you actually do those estate sales yourself?
So I have 2 partners in the estate sale part of my business only, right? So
Okay.
organizing is just me. Estate sales, I bring in people because you can only do, if it was just me, I can only do 4 a month because there's only 4
Okay.
weekends in a month. And in
Right.
a week and in a month where there's holidays, just 2, you can't make a living.
Right.
And people need you to do it in a certain time frame because typically there's an escrow closing involved. So
Right.
you got to get it done on time. So I partner up with 2 companies that have stellar reputations with me. I am involved
Hmm.
every step of the way. And
Uh-huh.
we do that and we sometimes it's not an estate sale, people who live in condos, townhouses, or gated communities can't have a full-on estate sale.
Right.
So sometimes it's an online auction. Again, sometimes it's an auction,
Okay.
consignment, liquidation. There are so many ways to sell things.
So let me ask you this. Does a potential client need to buy anything or do anything before you come to their house?
No,
Nothing.
nothing. So, and everybody asks me, what do I need to get before you get there? And I'm like, you know what? I don't want you to get anything because number one, they'll probably have whatever I need in their house.
Hmm.
Number two, I don't know how deep their shelves are, how big their space is, and hopefully I'm not containerizing it. Hopefully we're either displaying it, store or
Right.
putting it away where they can get it. Putting things in bins and boxes don't make you organized.
Okay.
It
So
just gives you more stuff.
what makes you organized?
Being organized is being able to find what you need when you need it, accessibility, functionality, and giving yourself a sense of control over your space,
Gotcha.
sense of calm. I
Okay.
mean, to me, I guess everybody has their different definition, but for me is a place for everything and everything in its
In its
place.
place. And being able to put your finger on it when you want it.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
got you.
You know,
Okay.
yeah.
I would imagine many times you're working with people who are disorganized and then all of a sudden you organize them. All right. But they haven't changed. All
Right.
right. So
Right.
so so what happens after the fact if you put an organization together for somebody and they say great, 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 and then 3 months later they call you up and they say, I can't find anything.
Right.
What do you do? I don't know. Would you call that maintenance?
Yes. And we do
Okay.
provide that. That's why I have clients for 14 years. So there's a lot of people who can't for whatever reason. Maybe it's a physical disability. Maybe
Okay.
they're busy executives and they don't have the time. And maybe they're trust fund babies and they just don't want to. Right.
Okay. That's
And I
fair.
have a lot of those.
Okay. All
Whatever
right.
whatever the reason might be, I'm happy
Yeah.
to help. So we could do a weekly, monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, whatever they need, and we know what they need once we leave, right? So I
Right.
follow up with them accordingly. However, I will say this: everybody says to me, what what do I need? And I'm like, I want to see how you live. I want you to get nothing. Because and then, you might want plastic. I might want bamboo. Who knows? We have to see the aesthetics of your house. We also
Right.
have to take proper measurements and see what's needed. But mostly what I say to them is this: I am not asking you or even suggesting that for 1 minute, when I leave your house, it's going to look like Martha Stewart. I don't believe in in organizing by the rainbow, like the home edit. I don't believe in Marie Kondo. I think it's a great marketing piece, but I don't think it actually works in reality. I believe in functionality, accessibility, and getting what you need when you need it if you need it. So for us, it's about getting in there and explaining to them and even teaching them how to stay organized. So when we unpack somebody's moving, and we say the gift of giving, the gift that keeps on giving, I'm sorry, is
Mm-hmm.
letting us unpack you, because we're going to set your house up the way it should be. We're going to set it up so that it's functional and accessible. It makes sense. It's intuitive. Your kids will understand it. You will understand it. And everybody needs to get on board. So if you take something out, you put it away. If instead of the sink, it goes in the dishwasher, and we put systems in place. Sometimes it's as simple as labeling. Sometimes when you have little kids, it's as simple as putting a picture of that item on a bin instead of a label because they can't read.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes if they can't see, or if they're elderly, it's putting things color coordinated, putting outfits together. Everybody's need is different. There's no cookie cutter way of organizing under any circumstances.
What
So you
about
gotta
what
work with
about
the
with pe
person and their need.
sorry. What about people who are highly ADD?
Not
Have you done?
easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Okay.
But
Curious.
I always tell them, look, we don't live with you, right? It's your job. It's your job to
To live
maintain
with your
that.
stuff, right? To live with your stuff.
And less is more. Because if you do have ADD or you do have too much stuff, it's just going to be more and difficult to maintain it. And
Hmm.
God forbid there's an emergency, it's going to be much more difficult to handle because you have more stuff. The more stuff, the more problems. So
I
I'm
got
not
you.
minimalistic in any way, but I do understand the difference between clutter and reasonable, right?
Okay. All
And
right.
I have to, I am there's a joke in my company, which is when the girls are on site or the guys are on site and the client isn't getting rid of stuff and they're not cooperating, they're like, don't make us call Dina. Because I have to get the job done. They're paying me good money to get this done.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Speaking about that, um, if somebody in our audience wants to get in touch with you and inquire, what's the best way to do that?
They can either email me, Dina, Dina, at organizingconceptsanddesigns.com. They could also call me at 310-560-5060. They could text me to that same number,
Give us the number again.
310-560-5060. It's easy.
Terrific. Terrific.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, so moving on, let's finish up. Let's talk about divorces. When is the best time to bring you into, let's say we have a couple and they've been going back and forth, back and forth. Maybe they've been meeting with counselors and they finally wake up one day and say, you know what? We're done. We're just not going to be able to make this work. And they make the collective decision to move forward with a divorce. When should they call you?
I mean, there are different levels, right? So if the attorney is in the discovery phase, that's a good time, right? Because to pull the documents together to make this simple.
Mm-hmm.
Another reason why they might want to call is because they're selling the house and they need to figure out, what was spent on what over the years. So
Right.
maybe pulling us on then to, put a spreadsheet together for them to get all of those financials down. It may be because they're moving and they both need to get their act together and pack and or stage the house
Mm-hmm.
and get it ready to sell, because if they stage
Right.
it, they're going to get a lot more money than they would if it was just left as
Mm-hmm.
is.
Uh-huh.
People want to walk into the house and feel like I could live here. This is what I want to see. So we do what we call light staging, which means we'll go into the house, we'll take everything off the countertops and take off the personal things off the walls. We'll
Right.
make it a neutral space, make it really look good for the real estate agents to take photographs for their marketing.
Right.
And there's very little money involved, if any, because we use what they have. But a lot of people have a lot of stuff, so we kind of lighten the load. If there's an extra chair in the living room that doesn't belong there, we'll put it away. We'll either donate it or sell it, or we'll put it in the garage, right? So,
Right.
but we make the house look good. So they may want to use us for that. They may want us for the moving, the packing, the unpacking. There are so many different, they may want to sell things. They may call us in and say, hey, neither of us want it. We want to sell it. Is there value? So there's a lot of different time frames where somebody might call us in.
Gotcha. Okay. Is there any space too small for you to
No,
organize?
no.
No. So if
Linen
somebody want,
closets to 13 storage units.
so I was going to say, so if somebody wanted you to come in and not get rid of anything, they just wanted you to organize a storage unit, you can do that too.
That's fine.
If they're willing to write a check, you'll consider it.
We'll do it. But I will say that if they just want to reorganize, I'm going to say 99.999%, they're going to get rid of stuff if I'm involved. I'm not going into reorganize the storage unit. Although I will say this, storage units are good when people are renovating or relocating and don't know where they're going next.
Uh-huh.
That's fine. But if something is just stacked to the ceiling in boxes, that's not okay. So typically what we'll do if we're organizing a storage unit is we'll get freestanding shelving units, like from Lowe's or Home Depot. We'll put them together and start putting boxes on those so that they can be rolled around, moved around, so
Gotcha.
you can get to what you need when you need it.
Okay. Makes sense. Dina, thank you so much. All
You're
right.
very welcome.
I think this has been very, very enlightening for our audience. It's definitely been enlightening for me. All right.
Thank
And
you for having me.
I'm so glad that we brought you in. Can we reserve you to come again in the future?
Absolutely.
All right. I mean, I have no doubt that there's a book coming somewhere along the
There's a book.
line. I figured as much. There had to be. You got too many stories, too many things. We will definitely have you back. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
It was our pleasure to have you. You've been listening to Divorcing Your Mortgage. I'm your host, Matthias Gertz. Get home safe, kiss your family, and we'll see you again next week.
That's perfect.
Okay, great.
That was
Dina,
awesome.
thanks. It was fun. It was a blast.
Yeah.
Yep.
Went so
Yeah.
fast.